Good morning, everyone, on this special Black Friday edition. I hope everybody is still full from Thanksgiving, and welcome to another live episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And we are here today with Steve Campana, business coach, incredibly accomplished entrepreneur himself, and we met in the exchange community, which many of my followers know. That facilitation training attracts some of the most amazing people. Welcome, Steve.
Good morning, Suzanne. I look forward to our conversation and connecting with your audience.
Yes, I'm really excited to dive in a little about your story because you had such a rich career before you became a coach. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was blessed that I was able to uh, spend 43 years as a certified public accountant inside of three different firms, and that was a journey unto itself.
Mhm.
I had announced to the world in high school that I was going to be a certified public accountant and practice public accounting. And really, at the time of that announcement, I really wasn't. I knew I liked accounting, but I really didn't know what a CPA did.
Wow.
But because I had set that goal, I had a lot of academic distractions when I transferred to a Big Ten university. And in the early 80s, there were thousands of accountants graduating. So I missed the boat for a couple years before I was able to meet a gentleman that gave me a pathway
Mm.
to get into the public accounting field, which basically was pass the exam and everything else goes away. And that's what happened. So I was blessed. Uh, I was blessed. The 80s, I think, for me was the glory years of public accounting. And that's when I got started. So,
Wow.
uh,
It was also the glory years for some really good music too, but
yeah,
that's a
yes,
whole nother conversation.
yes. Yeah. Well, music was an academic distraction too. That was at least a half
Oh,
a point off my grade point, the live music in town. So, in any
yeah.
event, that's how I did that. And I was blessed. Maybe the last 20 years of my career, I got accredited in business valuation and I became a significantly stronger advisor and ability to serve clients when
Mm.
that opened up a whole new. It's almost like another language. Your analytical skills really improve a lot. So that's the background that led me to here, and maybe. Oh, in about 2017 was kind of an earmark year. Most public accounting firms, including the one I was at, had you got rid of your ownership, usually around 65, which our firm had. And I
Mhm.
attended Michael Hyatt's Achieve conference in 2017 and started my strength to strength journey. And I love that book, by the way, by Arthur Brooks. But so
Yeah.
that's the path I've been on. And as of the end of 23, I'm no longer embedded inside of CPA firms. And my true entrepreneurial journey began at that time.
Well, I love it because you're using, some of your strengths to build on that entrepreneurial journey, which is, so important. And I think a lot of people go on an entrepreneur journey not thinking about their personal strengths and the skills that they bring to the table. I often refer to it as the tools in your toolbox. And I think missing that is really a shame for so many entrepreneurs. What skill really stood out to you based on your own learning of yourself? What was that skill or strength that stood out that, kind of propelled you forward?
Well, I might answer the question starting with my lack of strength,
Oh,
which was
okay.
all progress starts by telling the truth. So maybe I'll
Yeah.
start there. So Suzanne, I spent 38 years being technically really, really good. Um, so if those skills were a nine, my emotional quotient skills, I did not invest time on the relationship side of my
Mhm.
life outside of strong relationships with clients and as I started thinking about my strength to strength, I finally accepted the fact that when people told me, Steve, you're kind of unapproachable,
Mm,
which I didn't like that. But when I accepted that, I came across the article. I think it's Daniel Goleman. It's a Harvard Business Review article called "What
mhm,
Makes a Great Leader,"
mm,
and that started my emotional quotient journey. About the same time, it was probably that 2017 period.
okay.
So one of the things I spent 5, 6 years on is really trying to work on those skills. You know, the self awareness, the self regulation, and the social skills to put me in a position to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And
Was
so that
there
if you haven't, it was very transformational for me
yeah.
to get there. I'm an accountant by training, but I joke that I'm trying to outgrow it and become an entrepreneur.
Was there something in your life that spurred that journey that made you think, "Ooh, I need to work on me if I wanna, you know, go to that next level?"
It would be the realization and acceptance that I didn't have a lot of connections outside of business. And again, I am a fan of Arthur's books, but he uses the term, I had a lot of deal friends. And even though some of my clients were real friends, I really did not have a lot of real friends. And
Mm,
so that, when you hit 60, 62, whatever that age would have
yeah,
been, that was a big aha moment for me.
wow. And, so what I love about this is that, you allowed that personal journey, the inward, the introspection to fuel the business journey, not the other way around. And do you think that was kind of pivotal in you finding this path that you took?
I would answer that yes, because I think my what I do statement is I acquire, apply, and transfer knowledge and skills. But all of that had been really in the numbers side of the business. And that realization, I really opened up my journey. So it went from Michael Hyatt. I started following Dr. Benjamin Hardy when he was first started blogging, and
Yeah.
he's written books. And everything accelerated along this journey. So it went Hyatt and then Ben Hardy and then others. But in 2023, my last year embedded inside of CPA firms, Ben co-wrote a book with Dan Sullivan, the founder of Strategic Coach, called 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Mhm.
And he had this book contest. And I entered it, but I entered it as part of my personal growth journey. I didn't enter it to try to win any contest,
Mhm.
but I was all in because I'm wired that way. If I do something, I do it. And it
Yeah.
was very comprehensive, of course. But Susan, I was one of 10 people selected to go to his upper level mastermind live
Mm,
conference in Park
mhm,
City, Utah in the summer of 23. Guess who I met there? Guess who facilitated that?
mm.
Someone you and I both know. Can you guess who that was?
John.
John and Adair. That's where I met John and Adair Cates from
Wow.
Exchange. And everything started accelerating there. Yeah,
Wow.
from that conference, just that experience, and then followed that, became an exchange member in December. That's shortly after that I met you.
Mhm.
So I think so that heading down and starting to read and invest in literature and trainings that were more about not about the numbers side of my life, but about
Yeah.
emotional quotient and working relationships and all of those things.
Mm.
Uh, it led me to the people that are really inspiring me to launch this business coaching business. So I'm in a stage of my life to make contribution and
Yeah.
just want to help business owners go through the stages of their business from starting your business as a job to
Mhm.
ending up you're running a self-managing company and leaving a legacy, kind of that path.
Well, we're so aligned when it comes to that. I feel so passionate about, you know, that exact message. The message of that anyone can really work on themselves and have a business that they love and give value to the world, and you deserve that for yourself. And what I love most about your story, Dr. Hardy's book, 10X is Easier Than 2X. in 2023 changed my life,
Wow.
changed my business, changed my life because I was willing to read the book and take action on the things that he was suggesting. And one of the most powerful messages was that not to-do list. I had to really look through my calendar and what is not serving me, what doesn't have an ROI for my business, what isn't helping me grow, what isn't making me money, and say goodbye to those things. It changed some relationships for me, which is okay, but it actually gave me space, not only up here, but in my calendar to get more meaningful work done. And I messaged him when I made those changes. And literally, he's not even a connection of mine. I just sent a message on LinkedIn and I told him of the action I was taking because of the book. Well, we've now had a couple conversations. He's going to be on my podcast in
Outstanding.
April. And oh, the possibilities, if you do that work on yourself, 10x really is easier than 2x. My business has quadrupled in income and impact, and my relationships are better, which is just absolutely incredible that one book can do that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And
Mhm.
I did have a chance to meet Ben, and he is just a very,
Yeah.
very giving person.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll give you just one example. You know, I'm new, most of the people at that live conference knew each other. There were 10 of us there that were meeting these people for the first time. And if he caught me out of the corner of the eye and I wasn't in a group, he would just look at me and wave me over. You know,
Mm.
he would invite me into the conversation, invite me into the circle, and he did that throughout. He's just a very generous person.
Yeah.
And I love the example you shared. Um, one of his guests during the book contest was Dr. Alan Bernard, and he,
Mm.
I think, is, but he talks about seemingly impossible goals. Would it be
Mhm.
helpful to share a little bit about that? What's the
Yes,
man?
please.
So he talks about seemingly impossible goals, and you frame those. This goal is seemingly impossible
Mhm.
unless, unless,
Ooh,
and the unless helps you identify the constraints. The unless this happens.
wow.
And stretch goals are seemingly impossible goals. They define them as those are things that we aspire to, but more likely than not are not within our current
Mm.
capabilities and skill set. So we're not quite sure. We don't have all the answers at that point in time. The
Mhm.
last piece about that, they posit that seemingly impossible goals are actually have a clearer pathway because there's fewer ways to get there.
Oh, I love that. And that is
Because
that I feel that so true. So, so true.
and so the point was that you actually can gain clarity around them because you have to let go. What got you here won't get you there. So it's your journey of what am I willing to let go of to get there, and to accomplish those. The final piece is 80% of what you're doing has to be new, and you only retain 20% to do that. But
Oh,
I really love that example that um, motivation and hope both come from a clear and compelling goal,
mhm.
a pathway to get there, and the belief that we as individuals or our companies have the agency to start down that path and course correct as we go.
Yeah.
And I
Well, I think it
that matters
starts
a lot.
with I remember making the decision to let go of some things last year, 2023, and my mentor said to me, "When will you make those changes?" And, as we were talking about it, it felt very heavy, very scary to walk away from a huge amount of income. But she said one statement to me, and she said, "If you want to go where you say you want to go with your business and your speaking and your book and all the things, you can't have a $10 product on the shelf that does something totally different. You have to be willing to let go of that $10 product that you started 10 years ago. And it was a $10 a month membership product. And she said, when? I said, today, right now. And I knew if I didn't make that decision, if I marinated on that decision, I would find reasons to not let go of that amount of income. But she really made me see, and the book, it was this, I can connect the dots now looking back, that it was set up for my success because I was willing to make that decision swiftly and do it before the end of the year. I think we were 2 weeks before the end of the year of 2023. And I said, I'll do it today. Done.
And did you find that open? I'm guessing that really opened a lot of bandwidth when you did that you can replace. It's really interesting. In fact, Don Miller, the Coach Builder platform that I'm part of, which is Business Made Simple and the Small Business Flight Plan, one of our frameworks is a product review to help entrepreneurs, because we do tend to hang on to we have legacy products in our offerings, maybe are no longer serving our audience, or need to be passed down to someone that's maybe where you and I were 10 years ago. There's still a market for it, but not for us anymore. So I love that concept, and I look forward to helping people think through those processes. What I did not know that we had a similar journey with that book. It's very interesting.
Yeah. See what happens when you have a coffee chat with somebody and you actually discover. And I will tell you, I was a member of Exchange, in 2023. And I would have called myself a dabbler in getting, to the point with that community and the certification. But as soon as I had more bandwidth mentally, emotionally, physically in my calendar, I was able to get my certification. I was able to build relationships within that community that they mean so much to me today, and when I think about that, none of that would have been possible at my bandwidth before saying no to more things and getting on that path to my single greatest purpose. And I really feel as though that book was instrumental in allowing that to happen for me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Daniel Laporte, she appears as guest on their podcast, but she has a belief community equals velocity. Susan, I attended your connection call last Wednesday, and there were 2 people there, and yourself. So there were 4 of us from Exchange community.
Yeah.
Out of a very large community, we had a Zoom, if people wanted to, at 9:00 yesterday morning, a little Zoom call for an hour, just to celebrate our gift. Get 2 of those 3 people that were on your call Wednesday were with us.
Wow.
Yesterday. So that was really interesting. So community really is velocity, and getting involved in the right communities and moving on.
Yeah, I think so. I think community, I've been researching and building community since the early 90s. My first business, I had an incredible community that used to go on trips 4 times a year together. And that, it was before the internet, before cell phones. So the community was on a yellow legal pad, names, address, phone number. And the connections that I had within that community I was building were so much deeper because I feel like the tangibility of that community was based on actual face-to-face relationships. And I think that's a missing piece with so many online communities. They try to have this digital platform when really the magic, I think you can do it digitally on Zoom, but there has to be connection between people.
Yeah, I would agree. And as you know, from our facilitation community, it's
Mhm.
the idea of unlocking the collective wisdom of the group. And the way you
Yeah.
do that is the way you gather and create a space where more voices come into the room.
Mhm.
And there's ways to do that, and it's very powerful.
Yeah.
I use the facilitation because I'll do training for CPA firms once in a while. This example might be helpful for your audience of why that's so powerful. If you go to there's 30 attendees there and you're training a technical topic. In the first hour, it's very unlikely, even if you took, are there any questions? And
Mhm.
it's very unlikely that more than 5 people would have brought their voices in the room.
Yeah.
But by changing that experience from passive to active and using questions and conversations as opposed to questions and answers, and then
Mhm.
the way we facilitate it with the breakout rooms and the reflection, within 75 minutes, all 30 voices will have had a chance to talk and have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
very, very, very powerful.
it's so powerful, and I think bringing people closer together like that is really incredible for anyone to learn how to do, and I remember the first time, and I would love to hear your first time using a piece of exchange within what you were doing. I had been running a monthly call for coaches for about 6, 8 months, and at the end of the call, it was the normal call with the speaker and all the things, and at the end, we had about 5 minutes left. I said, "Okay, to seal this in, I want to go around the room rapid fire and get everyone's biggest takeaway." And I went from person to person, in 10 seconds or less, "Tell me your biggest takeaway from today." And, there was 30 some people in the meeting, and I documented those 30 takeaways with my little note taker, and the email that went out afterwards was so impactful, but the experience in the room, now everybody's contributing to the conversation. Everybody was voicing what their takeaway was. And so whatever my takeaway intention was, it was different for everyone, which that's just absolutely incredible.
But your meeting recap with those 30 ahas that made the experience different for everyone.
Yes.
And I don't know where this came from. I know we use it from time to time, but the transformation doesn't come from just from the learning or the experience. Our transformation comes when we take the time to reflect on the
Yeah.
experience or the learning. So that meeting recap was very powerful. I can share a couple of my
I would
facilitation
love that.
experiences. So both were surprising. One was at a training for a 20-minute training. I did I wanted them to experience an interaction. So just facilitated that by
Mhm.
when have you seen teamwork at its best? When has it been least effective? That question. But my sense from the group was I really modeled the reflecting back to let that person know they were seen, heard, felt, or understood, and some of the things we can do to make them feel comfortable continuing to bring their voice in. And the surprising aha in the meeting recap from that was that piece of the training where I spent a little more time telling them, well, here's what's happening behind the scenes. This is why
Mhm.
letting that other person just very briefly, Suzanne, I really appreciate what you said there. I could relate to that. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
That was their biggest takeaway
Oh my gosh,
from,
I
from
love
that group.
that
Just
so
thank
much.
you for spending the time
Yeah.
to do that. And the other one was kind of my facilitation skills are improving. I put on a training, and with this audience, I was I structured it that, look, I'm happy to do the training, but there will be a minimum of 2 breakout rooms because I really, for you to get benefit, it has to go from passive to active, which was agreed to. And I was thinking that part of the training would be my biggest challenge.
Mhm.
And the two breakout rooms were the best part of the meeting.
Mm,
And I needed to spend a little more energy on the other parts of the meeting. So it's just a
mm.
complete surprise. So that opportunity to connect with others
Yeah,
and bring out the collective, it's very powerful. So those would be two examples about the facilitation. Listening to you talk, I do have another example on my journey in the last year that might be helpful to your
I would
audience.
love it. Yeah.
Just so when you're an owner and you've had long-standing client relationships, the people you're talking to about solutions to their problems, they already have your trust.
Hmm.
Okay. And my base is I acquire, apply, and transfer knowledge and skills. And Suzanne, I assume my audience has the same level of interest to be at the same level of detail as I do, which is not true.
Mm-mm.
So I was starting my journey kind of telling people at the beginning of 2024, what I'm no longer embedded. Hey, here's what I'm going to be doing. But I started explaining, I was very passionate about some of the leadership things we're learning in exchange in the facility. And I found in reflection, I'm just leading with explaining.
Hmm.
And I've really had to flip that to a thought from the book, The Advice Trap, to stay curious longer.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
really that idea that people don't buy from us because they understand what we do. They get comfortable with us and make a purchase decision and go to the confidence level to interact with us because they believe we understand them.
Yeah.
We understand them, not that they understand us. And so
Hmm.
that was about probably July when I had that reflection and aha moment that wait a minute, you can't, one, you don't have their trust from the get-go, so
Hmm.
you have to really be curious longer, I guess. And so that was
Yeah, that was
working
such
on that
a
path.
good same really powerful lesson for me a couple years ago. Um, One of my connections, I offered some help in regards to something he was working on, and he said, "No." And I thought, "Hmm, he doesn't understand. I'm giving him something of value because he doesn't even know he needs it." So at that point, when you're offering help to someone or, "Hey, I've been there. Would you like some insights on that? Or would you like to know how to do that?" It's so important not to jump to the prescription and really stay in that diagnosis phase. I hate poking pain points, but the curiosity phase that you mentioned is so, so important because if you just offer and spew help out to everyone, it becomes not only less valuable, but people think you have an ulterior motive for offering that help. And I'm going to use my LinkedIn information. I just offered it to you before we went live. I have a full course on how to set up your LinkedIn profile, how to connect it to your website, what to say in your profile. I mean, it's easily a $5,000 coaching program. But if I just sent that to you after connecting with you on LinkedIn, well, one, you probably wouldn't look at it, or you would say, well, who she thinks she is sending me this stuff, right? So by sending your content to strangers or, barely connected people, it's a really big turnoff today's day and age. And I think more people need that message that it's about, hey, Steve, I can't believe we're not connected on LinkedIn. I just sent you a connection request. I'm going to be tagging you in the show. And, I have a ton of LinkedIn resources if you're looking at, growing your profile and your presence there. Would that be helpful? And if you say no, well, obviously, I'm not sending anything to you. And that's about being of value to other people.
Yeah, what caught my eye and what I've resonated with me is, would that be helpful to you?
Hmm.
So to continue along the lines of
Yeah.
being curious along longer, I would
Mhm.
normally start explaining how I would help them, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I do that. Suzanne, this is what I heard from you. Um, might be as simple as I can help with that. Would you like to see what that might look like?
Yeah.
Or would it be beneficial to you? Would you like to see that what that might look like?
Yeah.
And follow up with that. So your idea that asking that question really resonates with me. Would it be
Mhm.
helpful to you if I shared with you this LinkedIn course? And if they say no, then it's not the right time for them. They may circle
Mhm.
back to it or come back to it, but it wasn't the right time now. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and I think so a couple of people that I've offered that to, because it's all based on my journey on coming into LinkedIn, and I have many other resources that are very, very similar. And I've offered it to numerous people, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. How much is it?" I'm like, "No, no, you misunderstand. This is not something I do or sell. This is just value that I give to my connections based on what I did for myself." So if you like my LinkedIn profile and you see how it's bringing people to me, I'd love to share what I did with you because you're one of my connections. And that, well, one, everybody who has received that information goes, "Wow, Suzanne, this is amazing. Thank you so much." So you're building those relationships based on value. And I think being of massive value, I'd love you to speak to that a little bit because to me, nobody wants your opt in. Nobody wants your free PDF. Nobody wants your video series until they know you and that you care about them.
Well, I would agree with that. That comes back to they feel that we get them. We've
Yeah.
let them know they were seen, heard, felt, or understood,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
that
Thank you, Jim, for adding to the conversation here in the comments, helping rather than
yeah.
selling. Absolutely. Massive value is something, that exchange, the certification that we're in together, um, is so, so good at the ask and give framework of being of value to other people. And you said something interesting about being approachable earlier. Um, I think that's part of it.
Yeah, for me, that was part of my emotional quotient journey is just being
Mhm.
more open, more forgiving. Appreciated Jim's comment, helping rather than selling.
Yeah.
Uh, I've used something similar that, and I try to work with this that like people selling professional services that no, you're there to serve. You're serving them with something that will help solve their problem. You've got to get over the
Mhm.
idea that you're selling something, and what I found helpful in one of the transitions inside the public accounting world, because I was around a lot of smart people and I'm a sponge. The last 8 years of my career, I did have the ability to just listen, and I never went in knowing how I would solve a problem or if they easily even had a problem. But I was able to match up what I heard with something I've done in the past, and that was very powerful. So that's a transition now. I've got to develop that skill set around my current product offering. But when you get to that point that
Mhm.
you're not sure how you can help them, but you can, even if that might be a referral to someone else. That's not
Yeah.
within my breadth of expertise, but I know someone who'd be perfect to get your website up and running, to help you with your LinkedIn profile.
Mhm.
Um, that's when you're really starting to add value and you're shifting from selling to service. And then you mentioned the value. Um, I'm a big believer in having product. This does come from the small business flight plan and Don Miller stuff, but have products with the stated value. I'm in the results economy now. Dan Sullivan comment, not the time and effort.
Mhm.
hours times rate. No,
Yeah.
it's this product. And then to your point, whatever that stated value is, over deliver on that. If your stated value for this is this, make sure you deliver value above that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just surprised one of my one-on-one clients. I learned a new skill with an AI tool, and basically I can take your face and your body and put it in different images. So it's like playing dress up to me. I can decide where you're at in the picture, what outfit you have on, and I learned it for myself. I learned, and it's not something I'm going to offer the public. It's not going to be, some new offering for me. It's a skill I have in my toolbox. And my photos turned out so well. Everybody was commenting on them. And one of my clients said, "Wow, when did you have a new photo shoot?" And I said, I did 1,000 photos yesterday in less than an hour, all different outfits, all different cities, all different scenes. And my client looked at me and said, "How?" "Well, I learned this new skill." And it's unlike other AI photos because it's actually my face. I'm just putting different clothes on myself. And I said, "I can do one for you if you would like." Well, he was so blown away by the results that he said, "How much do I owe you for this?" I'm like, "No, no. This is part of what you get when you work with me. My one-on-one clients, whatever I'm working on for me, you're going to benefit from that. And because I'm learning and I'm growing in that skill department, in the toolbox department, you're going to get that. You're going to receive that when you work with me." And to me, that's the astonishment. You want your people to feel astonished in value when they spend time with you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that's a great share, Suzanne. And I will tell you that you just shared that maybe sometime in the last 2 weeks that because
Mhm.
they look so real. I mean, they are real. Those images,
Yeah.
I had the same thought that, wow, this lady, this lady has the coolest pictures. And
Mhm.
had you not shared that, there is no way I would have thought that that wasn't a professionally shot image.
Right. Right.
It's pretty amazing, and you're mastering that craft because they're really well done.
Thank you so much. And, when I look at my clients tend to be much like yours, busy, owning a business, maybe multiple businesses, and taking 3 days and thousands of dollars to have the clothes, the outfits, the travel, to do a photo shoot just isn't in the realm of possibility. And so now, not that photo shoots aren't valuable. I mean, I have an incredible photographer. We're going to spend some time together this winter, but this is so wonderful when you're looking at the online space and the constant need for images and all of that. So, when I really think about what you do and you're bringing in other learnings that you have from other people, and you're bringing them together and synthesizing them with your strength for your clients. How did you realize that that combination of skills, I mean, I see it. I see the connection between your skills from your corporate life to what you're doing. But how did you see that connection when you were doing it?
Uh, it again is jumping out from there, and I don't remember the exact names, but up until we're about 40, we
Mhm,
really do absorb that technical side of things,
mhm,
and that part of our brain slows down at around that age. But I think the answer to the question that I believe I heard was you really shift to that next level where it's your knowledge of how to apply. You may not learn that new algorithm as fast as the young engineer or the young,
mhm.
but your experience brings it to life.
Mm.
And so the ability to do that. Another thought that came up is I was fortunate that I did work in industries that were comparable, people that make, move, store, or build things. But the knowledge transfer between, I had a foundry. I learned as much from my clients, but this example I'll share because it applies to so many businesses. He says, Dave, there's three ways to make money. You make it on the sales side because your product is more value in the eyes of the customer.
Mhm.
You make it on the purchasing side because you're able to purchase the raw materials uh, because of your purchasing power or your relationships. You're able to buy better, or you make it on the conversion, and that's taking the
Mm.
raw materials and converting into something of value. And I was able to share that story across industries. Hey, let's take a look at this. If we looked at these three things, where are you strongest? Where are you weakest? So just uh, being aware of what worked over here, just because it's a different industry or a different experience, test
Yeah.
drive it, see if it lands there. It was very beneficial to me to have been blessed with one. I was around a lot of smart people, and I was blessed with really, really good clients, and it was more a collaborative relationship
Mhm.
than that. And so just like you did, you shared the example with the photo images on this call. You shared the example with
Yeah.
the LinkedIn. Those are things that you're working on in your toolbox.
Mhm.
They're working for you, and you're sharing them with others.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is interesting here is that when I was first starting in this journey, I thought I was going to struggle. I didn't know how I was going to translate my business into the online space back in 2010. And my coach at the time said to me, "Well, what did you used to do for a living?" And I said, "I was a dental hygienist for 20 years. That doesn't that doesn't connect. Like, what's the big deal?" Oh, do you understand that for 20 years, every hour, you were talking to a new person? And this light bulb went off in my head that I saw the connection between that 20 years of experience. I've been working in the dental field since I was 16. Oh my gosh, I know how to connect with people.
Oh,
And all of a sudden, so much opened up because I understood the connection between that career and this career. And it it really transformed my thinking on having my own business.
yeah, that's fantastic. That's going for me, relating to your story, that's going from the unapproachable
Yeah.
to the approachable. And you had a jump start. And what a great insight that friend or mentor of yours gave you to
Yeah.
go from strength to strength.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And I love that that brings us full circle back to, you know, that journey for you, realizing that you had these strengths, bringing them out into the world and helping clients. And I think helping others is truly, I always thought it was because I was in the healthcare space for years. You were in a helping profession for years. So it makes sense, to use that knowledge that you've accumulated in that career and use it to help other people. And I just think what you're doing is so wonderful. How can our listeners find you and get in touch with you? I know you have a new website coming soon and all kinds of fun stuff you're working on.
Yeah, right now, LinkedIn would be the best way to reach out. I'm not the marine biologist. You'll see an image of me, but there is a Stephen Campana that, if you Google my name, he will come up. He's from Canada, and he's well renowned. That's not me,
Okay.
but you can find me on LinkedIn. The website will be Campana Business Coaching.
Love it.
That will come out. The website I put up 5 years ago when I was kind of exploring what to do. It'll give you some insight into my background, my book, my black belt billiards book is on there. I wrote that 20 years ago. I'm an avid pool player enthusiast. You could go there. It's Campana for performance coaching, but it's really just, it's not designed for a business. It's more of a fancy bio of myself and the stuff I've dabbled in, so they can reach out there. And look for the website. I'm looking to launch and really have that up and running, and really looking forward to continuing to add value. That's I want to be a builder. And as we wrap up, Suzanne, I'd be happy to exit with something it's a little poem that Lou Holtz in the late 80s, I heard him speak, and it's called The Builder. And I haven't recited it in several years, but there's something about this connection and the space we have today. You're talking about building, we're talking about building a business, but ultimately we want to be builders. You said we want to serve. Jim said he used something, but it's helping, not selling. So we're here to serve. We want to be builders. And if it's the appropriate time, I could do my best to recall that and share that with you. And I'm so appreciative for the opportunity on Black Friday or the day after Thanksgiving to be able to connect with you and look forward to our continued journey. It's so exciting. We've had a parallel path.
Yes.
Would you like me to share?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love it.
Okay. I saw a group of men in my hometown. I saw a group of men tearing a building down. With a heave and a hoe and a mighty yell, they swung a beam and the sidewalk fell. And I asked the foreman, are these men skilled? The type you would hire if you were trying to build? He laughed and he said, why, no, indeed. For common labor is all I need. For I can tear down in a day or two what it took a builder 10 years to do. And I thought to myself as I walked away, which of these roles am I going to play? Am I the type that constantly tears down as I make my way foolishly around? Or am I the type that's trying to build with care so that my family, friends, and community will be glad I was there and make it a great day?
Thank you so much for sharing that. And everyone, rewind and listen to that again from your perspective, in your business, in your journey. I love it, Steve. Thank you so much for being here. Look forward to more conversations, and look forward to talking about pool in the future as well.
Very well. I've enjoyed our time and look forward to connecting again. Thank you so much for inviting me on into your community and on this show.
You're so welcome. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next Friday. Thanks, Steve.
Suzanne. Bye.